This is Brian Watkins, and this is a video that I'm preparing for my advanced Excel class, Counting 386, where we're going to talk about importing data into Excel, cleaning it up, and then preparing it for processing. And the example I've chosen to use for this unit is Jacob 5, which is the largest chapter of the Book of Mormon. We're going to break it down into its components. Now, I think we said first, if you have a chance to clean your data at the source, for example, if you're going to copy your data from another computer system or the web into Excel, then do anything you can. We discussed that if I copy this with the footnotes, if I show footnotes, then we're going to have, look at that, it doesn't want to show me the footnotes. Interesting. Okay, but when it does show the footnotes, you get extra characters. So we've got the footnotes off, and I will just highlight this, and we'll do our input via a cut and paste. We could also do a web query. We'll be studying web queries a little bit later, where you set up a connection between the internet and Excel brings the web page into the spreadsheet automatically. But here we're just going to do a cut and paste. So I've copied it, and now I'm going to paste it. Now if I paste matching destination formatting, it comes in nicely. If I do it keeping the source formatting, it wants to play with my row height. So I'm going to keep the destination formatting. And I note that sometimes for people this is coming in with blank lines between each verse. If that is the case, then all you need to do is go to Data and remove duplicates, and it will remove all but one of your blank lines, and then you simply delete the last blank line. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of the characters that are at the beginning. We don't need the verse numbers, and this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to work across each of these verses. Let's pull down each of these verses is in its own cell. So that means the adjoining cell is really empty, even though Excel is showing us the words. If I were to put data in B1, then Excel would behave and stop showing an overwritten cell. But as long as B1 is empty, it's just going to overwrite it. So B1 is empty. Our first operation is to strip off it looks like the first three. It looks like it's got a space one space. Maybe it doesn't, but what we'll do is we'll figure out, we're going to take from the right hand side. We're going to start at the end. So we're going to use the write command. Write returns the number of characters from the end of a text string. All of our strings are different. We're going to go to the immediate left, pick up the string, but the number of characters in the string is going to be different each time. So we're going to use a command that returns the length of the string. That way we always have exactly the number that we want. And that is the length command, len. Now, if I take the length of the string and I subtract out those first three, then it will start at the end of the string and count all the way back until it gets to the number of the end minus 3. So let's try this. -3, and it took our B off. So I'm going to change that 3 to a 2. Okay, this is a little more hands-on than it's going to be in our other operations, but I'm going to copy this down now, which I can do because there are cells containing information to the left. Okay, now I have a space. So I'm simply going to go up here and increase my 2 to a 3. There, my space is gone, so now I'll copy that all the way down. Good, and it comes down to row 10, where I have another space, which makes sense because the verse numbers went to 2 digits there. So I'll change my formula to 4 at this point, and I'll copy it down. And if we had verse numbers that went to 100, it would probably need to be adjusted again. But it looks like we have it just right down to the 77th. So let's go back up, end arrow. Okay, our next operation, I've done this two ways. We've used the find and replace command which I believe is on the home ribbon, replace. And we've also used just the substitution. I prefer the substitution because it leaves kind of a trail of what we've done. So I'm going to substitute in my B1 text, which is now gotten rid of the spaces and the numbers at the front. I'm going to substitute from my text all of the periods, and I'm going to return nothing in their place. So this operation will get rid of the periods. Okay, and I'm going to copy that down. Okay, this time I'm going to get rid of the commas. So we're taking the easy ones now. I'm going to copy this down. Okay, now we've got to get some of the substitute, and we're going to get rid of semicolons. Don't know how many there are, but we want to get rid of them. So now we've gotten rid of the semicolons. Substitute. Okay, and we're going to now get rid of the colons. Good. And here's something that helps using the substitute. We're going to get rid of our question mark. And if we did this in the find and replace, question mark's a wild card and would cause us some trouble unless we use that special convention where you put a tilde in front of the question mark to tell the program that we're looking for the question mark. But we don't need that here. We're just going to use substitute. So now we've gotten rid of question marks. And I believe that gets rid of everything. Let's see, I'm seeing a colon here. Let's go back. Did I do colons? Look at that. I did semicolons twice. Okay, so here's an example, unintentional, but it's an example of how leaving yourself a little bit of a trail will help. Particularly if you have, let's see, that was the new colon, so I'll take that down. If you have someone looking over your shoulder, such as your audit team leader. Okay, so now if I look around, I shouldn't see anything. And you'll recall that we had a dash. And the problem was, when we came down and found the dash, I think it was in 48. 48. There's that dash. So what happens if you come up with a column with some kind of space or some kind of some symbol that you don't understand? And I showed you a quick way of dealing with that. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a column of helper cells that have numbers in them. Okay, so let's take these numbers down, center them so they're kind of out of the way. Now we're going to find verse 48, which has that. Okay, so that's G48 is our cleanest version. And we're going to take text out of G48. We'll make that absolute so we can copy this down. And we're going to start at number 1. And we're going to take, actually we're going to start at that number, space number 1, and we're going to take one character. And that way, as we copy this down, we'll start at space number 2, space number 3, and that will, let's bring that into the middle, spell out lengthwise, and it came to pass. Okay, and here we're going to find our character. And remember, to find any character's code, I just type code, and there's our character's code, 151. So what we want to do is substitute out code 151. So let's go here and do substitute G1 code 151. But we're going to put, because the dash puts two words together, we're going to put a space there. Okay. So let's copy this down. And since we referred to 48, we will see, okay, H48. Oh, sorry. The reason this didn't change is it's looking at G48. And if I change this now to H48 and copy it down, that dash is still there. Okay, so H48. Okay, H. We're substituting, oh, sorry, not code, character. Character 151. Code finds the character number, character brings the character in. So now I'll copy that down. And this time, master of the vineyard, we have a clean space of 32. So fortunately, in this process, I hope you learn to always check yourself, because no matter how good you get at it, little things get in the way, and you want to make sure that your work product is trusted by those you work with. So do that, and then we're going to, I think you recall that we had a character called 161, and character 161 is a space. In fact, I found a great, there's actually an article written by Microsoft about how to clean up your data that teaches exactly this. I hadn't seen it before, but you now know everything you need to know about that because we've already gone over it. So character 161 is the bad space, so we'll leave in its stead a good space. Okay, so we'll take that down. Finally, just to be safe, what we do is we take and we clean the text, okay? And cleaning removes all other non-printable characters. You won't see them, but they're there. And so by using the clean function, we get rid of those. There's also a function called trim that gets rid of spaces before and after, but we don't need to use that because of the function we're going to do looking for the spaces. We will find those extras anyway. So let's clean it up. And so now in J, we're going to copy it, and we're going to come down here, and let's make a little note, cleaned data, and then we'll paste it. Okay, so I guess when I typed it, I got rid of it. Copy. Paste values. And let's take our little experiment here and clear the contents. So now we have clean data. Let's just take a second to look through this, make sure that everything's good. Alright, I don't see anything. Okay, so now we have our clean data. Now what we need to do is, in order to break it up using one column of helper cells, rather than to have a separate column each time we do each verse, let's put them all together. And to do this, we use what's called a recursive function, meaning a function that we repeat over and over again. So let's just make a note here that the clean data is in cells A81 through A157. Okay, knowing that, we can call down our first cell, A81. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put that that cell right there ahead of us. We're going to take the cell ahead, and we're going to concatenate a space in there, and then we're going to stick it on the next cell in our clean data range, which is A81 plus 1, or A82. So now I have the first verse stuck on to the second verse. And if I copy this formula down, it's going to continue to add those verses from the prior verse. But here's the problem. If I keep adding it down, it will add this to it, this to it, this to it. There'll be a blank, and then it'll just start adding itself again as it gets into this range. So we have to make sure we stop right there on A157. So A81 through A157 shows that we have 77. So we're going to take and we're going to say 161 plus 77 gives me 238. So let's take this and copy it down to 238 very carefully. Okay, 238, done. Now let's look at 238, and we can't look at it because it's a formula right now, so we're going to have to copy it and paste the value. Okay, and we looked at our original data, and we know that at the end it says, will I cause to be burned with fire? So if I get it right, let's go down. Will I cause to be burned with fire? Good. We got it right on, and I did because we did the math. But if you didn't get the math, you would see that it would come to an end somewhere differently. For example, if it ends with which I have spoken, where's which I have spoken? Right here. If it ends right there, then you know that you missed a verse. And if it has the opening lines, behold my brethren, you know that you picked up some of the opening. You're starting to overlap. So now we've checked, and we know that this has everything that we need in it. It has a complete record of our data. So now we want to separate our data, and we look at this, and we see that the delimiter is the space. This could just easily be a list of numbers and letters, random things, but if there's a common or a common character between them, like a comma or a tab or a space, then we can break them up into their parts. So let's find that first delimiter by using find, and we're going to find a space within this text 240. We don't care where we start at the beginning, and we see that it's at 7. Center that. Okay, the second one is going to be a little trickier. We're going to find the space within text A240, and let's make that absolute so we can copy it down. But this time we're going to start at the last space plus 1. That allows us to create a formula that we can then copy down until we run out of spaces. So I know there's a ton of words, so we'll just come down. Ooh, I went way too far. Okay, so now let's go up. Whoop, maybe I didn't go way too far. Here we go, 19,125. All right, let's clear the contents. And now we know we've got 19,125 delimiters, which would give us a lot of different records. So let's use our space now to extract. The first extraction is just starting from the left, and we're going to take it from our text here, and we're going to take our space minus 1. So that'll give us our first word, behold. Okay, and now let's create another formula that will take advantage of the second space. Now I know what I want to extract, and the way to build these formulas is to look at what you're trying to do. I want to get the word my here. Well, I know it comes from the middle of a text string, so I go mid. I know it comes from A240. All of our data will, so I'll take A240. And I know it's going to be after that first space. So I'll take this number, and I'll add 1 to it. Okay, and how many characters am I going to need? Well, I need 2. My has 2 in it. So I have this number. I can subtract the number before it. And then to get 2, I'm just going to subtract 1 more. The reason why it makes sense to build formulas this way is because you're thinking about a formula that can be recursive, meaning you can copy it down. When I copy this down, I not only get the my, but the next time I use it, it gets the third word and the fourth word, and so on. And so let's go down to the bottom and see if we get fire at the end. Burned with fire. So it got fire at the end. That means that there was a space at the end of fire, which was good for us. If you didn't see the word fire there, then what you would have to do is you would have to make sure that your formula to go to the, let's use the one we're going to copy down. This formula here would say the text that we're going to start with is going to have a space on the end. So let's see what happens if we did that here. Go down to the end. Nothing really happens, although you should see, oh, that doesn't have that. So if I said find A240 and stick a space on the end of it, then you would find that we have a second space right there. But since we already had one, we're okay. Alright, so I will clear this. How do you know if you've done it right? You know if you've done it right by simply eyeballing the last data record. Okay? You're your own check figure on that. You don't have to worry about your algorithms or anything, because you can eyeball it and you can see that you've got everything. So now that we have all these words, okay, what do we do with them? Well, if they're all unique variables, okay, such as names or transaction amounts, then you just start processing. But if you're looking for example, if this was a list of customer names that had sales during the year, and you had one customer that had multiple sales, and the purpose of your data is to prepare a mailing list, you only want to mail to each customer once, so let's get rid of the duplicates. So we're going to take our data range, okay, and we're going to copy it. Let's just copy it right next door, and we're going to paste the values. So here's all my words. Okay. One of the things I can do before I get rid of the unique properties that the whole list has, because, for example, when I copy this over without duplicates, I won't be able to then know how many times the word showed up. So one of the pieces of information we might want to get, for example, if these were sales and these were the names of people who bought from you, you'd want to know who's buying the most. Which one of these names repeats the most? Because in that idea of looking at the data as sales, that would tell you who your best customer is. So the way to do this, let's name our row here. Okay, we're going to give it a name, and it's going to be original data. Okay, this is our raw list of names. So let's just go into our original data, and let's count if our range, which is original data, equals the cell to our left, which is F243. Why is it doing that? If it equals F243. Okay, so what count if does is it goes through the entire range, and it counts a cell in the range only if the criteria, okay, the criteria here is F243, the range is original data. So if the criteria is met, it counts it. So behold shows up 43 times, and here are the lists. Okay, so that would be, let's just keep a record here. Whenever you do data manipulations, you want to keep track of where you're at. So I'm just going to give my thing a heading, and I'm going to say this is the word, and this is the word, comma, the frequency. Okay, so we have the word and the frequency. And next, what we can do is we can take the entire range. So let's take this range, go back up to the top. Let's copy it. And we're going to paste values. Okay, so this no longer is a cell, it's just the number of times it appears. And copy it down. Now we're going to get rid of our duplicates. Okay, select one or more. Done. We have 366 unique pieces of data, which could be customers or products or anything from your data list. Here it's just the words. So we have the word, we have the frequency. Oh, we already know that. So let's change this here. Let's just go out and we'll merge this and we'll say word without duplicates. There we go. Bold our headings. Bold. Okay, so now we have a list without duplicates. What can we do with that? Sky's the limit. You can do all kinds of processing. You can do pivot tables. In fact, let's do a pivot table. Okay, I know you might be a little rusty on pivot tables, but pivot tables are really, if you just go back to 231, you'll remember what we talked about. We insert pivot table. Okay, now everything looks good except I don't want without duplicates in there. I'll just start without headers. If I was doing it right, I'd have word and length up at the top, but I think I know what's going on. So I'll put behold, then 43. Okay, sum of 43 is really the length of these, the number of times these words appear. So if I have the, for example, where is the 372 instances. If I look at the bottom, I have a grand total of 3,716 words. Ooh. So if I were to take, for example, we did, you'll recall we named our range over here. Let's see how close our pivot table came. So if I hit count A, which is count number of cells in a range that aren't empty, count looks for numbers. Count A will look for text. And our formula was original data 3759. 3716. So something's up. I wonder where we're losing that. Probably one of them is case sensitive and the other one is not. For example, it has a blank in here that appears once. That was our blank at the end of the data. When you use pivot tables, just keep your wits about you so that you know roughly what's going on. So if I put let's put a graph in here. Let's do a pivot graph. Where are my pivot charts? Here's my chart, column. Okay, so it calls it total automatically. But what this is really doing is word usage. Okay, so I can go to my, let's sort them all, and let's sort it descending on the sum of 43, which is really another name for the count. And now we have a list of our words by how often they appear. Alright, I just want to see my top 10 words. There's my top 10 words. And I can click in that and I can do design and I can make my shadows. There we go, shadowy. Or I could put my data points. Let's select data. No, I want to format my data points. So add data labels. There we go. Done. Change my chart type. No, I don't want to do that. I want to get rid of my format plot area. And I want no fill. Oh, come on. Let's do this again. Format plot area. No fill. I don't want any lines. So format chart area. No fill. Well, we can play with charting. We haven't done our charting unit yet, so let's just take our click out of it, our grid lines, and there we go. There's a word usage chart. What else can we do with this data? We could let's make a copy, and let's think of another function we can use. So we'll just call this word, and we'll call this length. And instead of doing how much, we'll just do the length of the word. And really, these operations, you can think of all kinds of stuff to do with your data. So let's do a pivot chart on this one. So we'll insert pivot table, new worksheet, and we'll have the word and the length. Let's do this. Let's go back and let's sort our table. We'll sort this using data, and we'll sort it on values. I want to sort by the next column, by length. Sort on length. And we'll do largest to smallest. So now we have our largest word first. Let's go back to our pivot chart. So we have our words. Actually, let's redo the pivot chart so we have that new information. Be very careful when you delete worksheets, because you are tempted to hit this button and then you'll delete all your work. So we'll delete sheet 7. We'll go back here. And let's do a pivot table on the distribution of words. Okay, so we have word and length, and we'll sort based on our length. So there's our biggest words first. What would our row labels be? Let's pull down length here. Let's put word back. And now we start to see a histogram. So if we chart this, let's do a pivot chart. And we'll do a column. Sorry, you didn't see what I did. I just selected a column here. And so now we're looking at, we're looking at distribution of words. And we can do all of the same fun chart things to this. We can format our plot. Let's see, no, that's not what we want to do. Let's make it a little bigger. Okay, and we can make them closer together. We can put, but now we can see these would be the, let's go for a more data intensive chart layout. So chart, so that we have some kind of information. But here we have the number of words that have 4 letters, 5 letters, 6 letters. So there's, again, if you had customers, you could do a distribution based on states. You could do male, female. You could do all kinds of things. So what I'd like to see, if I ever ask you on the speed trial or on a test to prepare a breakdown of Jacob 5, I'd want you to be able at a minimum to do a distribution of words or a word usage chart, and just show me that you know how to do a basic pivot table. Anything more that you come up with, huge extra credit, because I'm always looking for good ideas here. So this is basically how to start with your raw data, end up with a list of words, and then do some very minor pivot table processing. We're going to do more on this later, And if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll bring you up to speed. I want everybody to be comfortable with these skills so that you can go out into the workplace and impress everybody with your BYU Hawaii education. So aloha, and I'll talk to you later.